Jack, The Last Heir of the Stars, Chapter 3. The Labyrinth of Reflections, Part 1. The massive steel door opened, with a deep metallic groan. Its ancient mechanisms had remained dormant for more than a century, and every movement echoed through the silent depths of Erebus Station, like the heartbeat of a forgotten giant. Beyond the doorway stretched a corridor unlike anything Jack had ever seen. It was perfectly white. There were no cables, no control panels, no visible light fixtures, only smooth walls that seemed to glow from within. It looked impossibly new, untouched by time. Jack stepped forward cautiously. The instant his boot crossed the threshold, the enormous door slammed shut behind him with a deafening crash. He spun around. The entrance had vanished. Not sealed, gone. The wall behind him was now perfectly smooth, as though the doorway had never existed. His pulse quickened. That's impossible. He activated his helmet scanner. No response. His navigation system blinked twice before shutting itself down. The digital map dissolved into static. His compass spun wildly in endless circles. Then the communications panel emitted a single sharp tone. Signal lost. His ship was no longer responding. For the first time since becoming a Guardian, Jack was completely alone. He continued walking. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 20. Nothing changed. The corridor stretched endlessly before him. The same glowing walls, the same silent floor, the same unnatural stillness. Something wasn't right. Jack stopped and turned around. His breath caught in his throat. The place where he had entered the corridor was still only a few steps behind him. He stared in disbelief. That couldn't be possible. He had walked for nearly a kilometer, yet the entrance remained exactly where it had been. He walked toward it. After 10 steps, the doorway was still the same distance away. Another 20 steps. Nothing changed. The distance never closed. The corridor had become a loop that ignored the laws of space itself. A spatial distortion. Jack whispered, "No." Something far more advanced. Suddenly, the ancient medallion hanging around his neck began to glow. Soft blue light spread across its surface. The 3 stars engraved into the metal pulsed with a steady rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. The light grew brighter. Then a thin beam shot from the medallion and struck the wall beside him. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the white surface rippled like water. A hidden doorway slowly emerged. Jack smiled faintly. "So, you can see it too." Without the medallion, he never would have found it. Whatever had built Erebus had hidden its true pathways from ordinary travelers. Only a Guardian could reveal them. The secret passage descended deep beneath the station. The air became colder with every step. A strange vibration echoed through the walls, almost too low for human hearing. Jack could feel it more than hear it. It reminded him of the energy flowing within the star beacon. Yet this felt different, older, heavier, as though something unimaginably ancient had been sleeping beneath Erebus for countless ages. Symbols soon began appearing along the walls. Jack recognized them immediately. The same language he had seen inside the star beacon. The language of the Guardians. But something was terribly wrong. Every symbol had been violently scratched out. Entire passages had been carved away. Someone had deliberately tried to erase this history. Not destroy it. Erase it. As if they feared that one day, someone like Jack would return to read it. He stopped before a shattered inscription. Only a few words remained untouched. "The heart must never." The rest had been destroyed. Jack stared at the damaged wall. The heart. He had heard that word before. The woman in the recording. She had risked her life to protect it. His mysterious double had mentioned it moments before disappearing, and now the ancient writings of the Guardians spoke of it as well. Whatever the heart was, it had been at the center of everything from the very beginning. Jack tightened his grip on his rifle. Somewhere below him, the answers were waiting, and deep within the darkness of Erebus, something else had just awakened. Part 2. The black crystal. The tunnel seemed endless. With every step, the air grew colder. Not the ordinary chill of a malfunctioning life support system, but a cold that seemed to seep into Jack's thoughts. The walls vibrated with a low, rhythmic hum. It was almost alive. His helmet sensor suddenly flickered. Unknown energy signature detected. The reading changed every second. No known element. No recognizable radiation. No logical explanation. Jack slowed his pace. His instincts told him he was getting close. At the end of the tunnel, a faint blue glow appeared. The passage widened into an enormous circular chamber. Jack stepped inside and stopped. At the center of the room stood a crystal nearly 5 meters tall. It was completely black. Not dark. Black. Its surface reflected nothing. Instead, it consumed the light on it. Even the beam from Jack's flashlight disappeared the moment it touched the crystal. His visor began flashing warnings. Temperature below measurable limits. Impossible. Nothing in the known universe could exist below absolute zero. Yet the readings refused to change. Jack slowly circled the object. The closer he came, the quieter the station became, until he realized there was no sound at all. Not his footsteps. Not his breathing. Not even the soft hum of his armor. The crystal wasn't just absorbing light. It was swallowing sound. Space itself seemed distorted around it. "What are you?" Jack whispered. For a brief moment, he thought he saw something moving beneath the crystal's smooth surface. A silhouette. A human figure. Watching him. Then it vanished. Without warning, red emergency lights flooded the chamber. A deafening alarm echoed through the silence. Unauthorized access detected. Defense protocol activated. The ceiling split open. Metallic panels slid aside. One by one, combat drones descended into the chamber. 10, 20, 30. Each machine hovered silently, its crimson optical sensor locking onto Jack. No hesitation. No warning. Just one command. Eliminate. The first drone fired. A brilliant blue plasma bolt screamed through the air. Jack threw himself sideways. The blast struck a stone pillar, reducing half of it to molten debris. Before the machine could fire again, Jack rolled to one knee and squeezed the trigger. His pulse rifle roared. The first drone exploded in a shower of sparks. The others instantly adapted. Their formation changed. Half attacked from above. The rest surrounded him from every direction. Their learning. Another barrage lit up the chamber. Jack sprinted between collapsing columns as plasma bolts carved glowing scars into the floor. Chunks of metal rained from the ceiling. One blast grazed his shoulder. His armor absorbed most of the impact. Still, warning symbols flooded his visor. Armor integrity. 81%. Could be worse, he muttered. He pulled an iron grenade from his belt. 3 seconds. 2. 1. The grenade detonated in a sphere of blinding white light. An electromagnetic shockwave surged through the chamber. 7 drones dropped from the air instantly. Their systems fried. But the survivors barely paused. Within seconds, they had already changed tactics. Instead of charging, they waited, watching him, calculating. Jack had fought military eyes before. Nothing had ever adapted this quickly. Then he noticed something strange. Every drone carefully kept its distance from the crystal. Not one of them crossed an invisible circle surrounding it. They weren't protecting themselves. They were protecting the crystal. Jack made his decision. He sprinted straight toward it. The drones reacted immediately. For the first time, they abandoned their careful formation. Every machine accelerated at once. Dozens of plasma bolts streaked toward him. Jack slid across the polished floor. One blast narrowly missed his helmet. Another tore through his cape. A third struck the ground so close that the explosion hurled him forward. He crashed against the base of the crystal. The instant his hand touched its surface, everything stopped. The drones froze in midair. Every alarm aboard Erebus fell silent. The crystal pulsed once. A deep vibration rolled through the station. Then, the floor beneath Jack cracked apart. Ancient mechanisms awakened below. Massive stone rings began rotating beneath the chamber. Dust poured from the ceiling. The crystal slowly descended into the darkness, taking Jack with it. The drones did not follow. They simply hovered above the opening, watching, waiting. as though they knew exactly where he was being taken. Jack tightened his grip on his rifle as the hidden elevator carried him deeper beneath Erebus. Somewhere below, the truth was waiting, and for the first time since arriving at the station, he wasn't sure he wanted to find it. Part 3. The Factory of Echoes. The hidden elevator descended for what felt like an eternity. There were no lights, no displays, only the faint blue glow radiating from the crystal suspended above Jack's head. Then, the platform came to a stop. A deep metallic clang echoed through the darkness. Massive blast doors slowly slid apart. Jack stepped forward. His heartbeat quickened. An entire city lay beneath Erebus. Towering laboratories stretched farther than his eyes could see. Gigantic assembly halls disappeared into the shadows. Endless rows of transparent capsules filled every level of the underground complex. Thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands. Each capsule contained a motionless figure. Humans. Alien species Jack had encountered during his travels. Others he had never seen before. Some wore military uniforms, others scientific robes. A few looked as ancient as the star beacon itself. Every one of them appeared to be asleep. Above each capsule glowed a single status line. Copy process. 99% complete. Jack slowly lowered his rifle. This wasn't a research station. He looked around the immense chamber. It was a factory. He walked between the endless rows of capsules. Every few meters another display illuminated as he approached. Each screen showed a different date, different civilizations, different planets. The oldest record was impossible to believe. 3,184,771 years ago. Jack frowned. No. His scanner confirmed it. The timestamp hadn't been corrupted. Whatever this place was, it had existed long before modern civilizations, long before the Shadow Empire, long before Arcadia. A terminal suddenly activated beside him. A synthetic voice filled the chamber. Genetic match confirmed. Last Guardian identified. Restoration protocol resumed. Jack immediately aimed his rifle. Who's there? No answer. Instead, every capsule in the room lit up at once. A soft hiss echoed through the complex. Locks disengaged. Glass covers slowly began to rise. One, then another, then hundreds. Cold vapor spilled across the floor. The sleeping figures opened their eyes. Not a single one spoke. Not a single one moved. They simply turned their heads and looked directly at Jack. Thousands of silent eyes, watching, waiting, judging. A single figure stepped forward. Unlike the others, he wore black combat armor identical to Jack's. The same height, the same build, the same scar above his right eye. Even the Arcadian medallion rested against his chest. Jack tightened his grip. You. The stranger smiled. This time, the smile looked almost human. Hello, Jack. His voice was Jack's voice. I've been waiting for you. Who are you? The stranger stopped only a few meters away. I am what you could have become. Jack's finger rested on the trigger. I asked who you are. The man tilted his head. My designation no longer matters. He touched the medallion around his neck. But if it makes this easier, you may call me Echo. You copied me. Echo slowly shook his head. No. I was created from the same origin. Jack frowned. That's impossible. Echo took another step. Is it? Weren't you taken from Arcadia as a child? Weren't your memories fragmented? Weren't pieces of your past hidden from you? Every question struck harder than the last. Jack said nothing. Echo continued. You believe your story began the day your mother placed you inside that escape shuttle. It didn't. It began here. Before Jack could respond, every light in the chamber turned crimson. The synthetic voice returned. This time it sounded almost frightened. Warning. External vessel detected. Unknown identification. Echo looked upward. For the first time, his expression changed. Fear. Real fear. They're early. Jack caught the words immediately. Who? Echo looked back at him. If they've arrived, we're both out of time. Without another word, Echo vanished. Not by teleporting, by moving. So fast that Jack barely saw him. A crushing punch slammed into Jack's chest. His armor screamed under the impact. Warning symbols exploded across his visor. Armor integrity. 63%. Jack crashed into a capsule, shattering the glass. Before he could recover, Echo attacked again. Every strike came from a different direction. Left, right, above, behind. It was like fighting his own reflection. Every move Jack anticipated, Echo had already predicted. Every counterattack was answered before it began. You fight exactly like I do, Jack growled. Echo smiled. No. You fight exactly like me. Jack ducked beneath another punch, spun, swept Echo's legs. The copy rolled backward, recovering instantly. Neither man could gain the advantage. It was like watching the same warrior battle himself. Then Jack noticed something. Echo's medallion. It looked identical, but one detail was missing. The symbol of the 3 stars. Jack's eyes widened. It isn't real. Echo's expression hardened. For the first time, he looked nervous. Jack smiled. So that's your weakness. He reached for the genuine Arcadian medallion around his own neck. The ancient artifact burst into brilliant blue light. The entire underground city trembled. Every capsule flickered. The black crystal above the chamber cracked. A deep voice echoed through the complex. Not human. Not mechanical. Ancient. Powerful. Filled with impossible age. The heir has returned. The chamber shook violently. Somewhere far above, something enormous had just arrived. Part 4. Memories of Erebus. The ancient voice faded into silence. Then, the underground city came alive. One by one, every capsule around Jack began to glow with a soft blue light. The sleeping figures inside did not move. Instead, streams of shimmering energy rose from each chamber, drifting upward like thousands of glowing spirits. The particles gathered above the cracked black crystal. A sphere of light slowly formed. Jack instinctively stepped back. His helmet struggled to analyze the phenomenon. A known energy pattern, no known classification. The sphere pulsed once, then exploded into light. The laboratory disappeared. Jack was still standing in the same place, yet everything around him had changed. Scientists hurried through the corridors. Engineers shouted across control rooms. Security officers rushed towards sealed blast doors. The station was alive. Not physically. He was witnessing a memory. A perfect recording preserved within the crystal itself. A young technician ran past him without noticing his presence. She carried a small metallic case tightly against her chest. Behind her, warning sirens echoed through the station. They're inside. Someone shouted. Seal Laboratory 7. Another voice answered through the emergency speakers. It's too late. The lights flickered violently. Somewhere deep within the station, an explosion shook the walls. Jack watched in silence. The people around him couldn't see him. He wasn't part of their world. He was only an observer. The vision shifted. A large conference chamber appeared before him. Several senior scientists stood around a circular holographic table. Their faces were exhausted. One of them pointed toward a projection of the black crystal. We underestimated it. Another scientist shook his head. No, we misunderstood it. An older woman stepped forward. She wore the emblem of the Guardians on her uniform. Jack immediately recognized it. It was the same symbol carved inside the star beacon. She looked directly at the crystal. It doesn't create copies. It preserves consciousness. Silence filled the room. One of the officers frowned. Then why are there thousands of duplicate bodies beneath the station? The woman hesitated before answering. Because the preservation process requires a physical host. No consciousness can survive without one. Another scientist interrupted. So the copies aren't weapons. They're vessels. She nodded. Empty vessels. They remain dormant until a consciousness chooses to return. Jack felt a chill run through him. Everything he had believed about Erebus had been wrong. The memory changed once more. The laboratory alarms grew louder. This time everyone looked terrified. A security officer burst into the room. "They've reached the lower levels. We're out of time." The Guardian woman turned toward the others. "Initiate the heart protocol." Several people froze. "You can't be serious. If we activate the heart, they'll find us." She lowered her head. "They've already found us." Without another word, she placed her hand upon the black crystal. Its surface lit with brilliant blue fractures. The room trembled. Every screen on the station flashed the same warning. Unknown vessel approaching. The scientists stared upward in horror. One whispered only 3 words. "They're finally here." The vision froze. Jack tried to see the display, but the image distorted before revealing the approaching ship. Almost as if someone, or something, didn't want him to see it. The memories dissolved. The laboratory returned. The blue sphere collapsed into countless particles that slowly drifted back into the crystal. Everything became silent again, except Echo was still standing where Jack had left him. His armor was damaged. One side of his face flickered like unstable light. He looked less like a man now, and more like a projection struggling to remain intact. "You've seen the truth," Echo said quietly. Jack kept his weapon lowered. "You lied to me." Echo shook his head. "I protected the truth. There's a difference." Jack glanced toward the cracked crystal. So Erebus wasn't creating an army. No. It was trying to save civilizations. Echo slowly walked toward one of the capsules. They came here willingly. Scientists, explorers, entire families. They believed they could survive the end. The heart gave them hope. Jack frowned. The end of what? Echo didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked upward, as though listening to something far beyond the station. When he finally spoke, his voice had become almost a whisper. "They're getting closer." Jack followed his gaze. "Who?" Echo closed his eyes. "The ones even the Guardians feared." Before Jack could ask another question, the entire station shook with such violence that several capsules shattered. The emergency lights turned blood red. A cold mechanical voice echoed through every corridor. "Warning! Unidentified Titan-class vessel has entered orbit." For the first time since Jack had arrived on Erebus, the station sounded afraid. Echo slowly opened his eyes. "They found us." Outside, something enormous blocked the stars.